Welcome back to Mock SportsCenter for year 2. This is episode 3. We're talking soccer here with Connor and Tully. I'm your host, Daniel. And the first week of the Premier League season has begun. As of Friday, August 23rd, ahead of Brighton's match against Man United tomorrow, Brighton is in first after a 3-0 win against Everton, who are dead last. What do we make of Everton's performance?
Everton is, they're terrible. I mean, other than Pickford in the net, they don't have anyone. Got a red card, let in 3 goals, nothing else to say.
Yeah, it's not even like the red card really played a role in that game. They were down 2-0 before they even got the red card, so I don't know if they're going to be able to stay up this year. I think they'll be going down.
They seem to be a pretty inexperienced team, other than obviously Pickford in net. But it is early, right? Like, can we make huge statements yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
we
so.
can.
We can. All right. All right. And then towards the top of the table, how do we think that's going to shift as the season goes on? What are our predictions for the, say, top 3 at the Premier League all the way in May? What do you think that'll look like by then?
Brighton's up there now. I think they'll stay up there, but not
Really?
not like top 3, top 5, maybe like 7th, 8th. But I think we're gonna see Man City, Arsenal,
Obviously.
and then I think I'm gonna throw in Liverpool in that 3rd spot, and they could all change around.
Yeah, I agree. I got City at the 1 unless their trial with their 115 financial charges is set to take place in the near future. So unless something happens during that trial, I have them at 1. Then I got Liverpool at 2. Arne Slot is going to really keep Liverpool up there. And then I got Arsenal at the 3. I also think West Ham could be up there, like top 6 with all their new transfers this year. But they lost to Aston Villa.
Do we think Brighton is here to stay, or is this kind of a early season whim of we get one big win, we get all confident and kind of fall off like the Cowboys do in the NFL?
Yeah, I think they just played Everton in the first match of the year, so they'll be a mid-table team this year. Nothing crazy.
But Arsenal not going to win again?
Arsenal will not. They'll bottle at the end again.
All right. That's our soccer section. This is our NFL segment. I'm here with Evan and Brendan. So, preseason standings, how are we looking? Do we got Chiefs at the top, Ravens, Packers? What are we thinking?
First, I would say I would still keep the Chiefs at the top, even though there's some questions with their receiver room right now. Marquise Brown just got injured. Rashee Rice is in legal trouble. You don't really know what's going on with their receiver room, but I think Xavier Worthy could be a nice prospect. He's a little on the skinny side. You saw that clip of him kind of getting pushed around a lot in the preseason practices. But I would still keep him at the top. Travis Kelce, I feel like he might have a bounce back year. He didn't have a great year last year compared to his others. Patrick Mahomes, still easily the best quarterback in the NFL, and he'll lead a good defense and solid offense to maybe late playoff games.
Yeah, I'd agree a little bit with Evan. I think, being skinny obviously does not help, but he's also got the speed. I think he's got that kind of Devontae Smith build, which will definitely help out because Devontae Smith's doing well in the Eagles already. I paid more attention to rookie preseason, so Bears, Broncos, Vikings, teams like that. Obviously, Vikings lost J.J. McCarthy, and that kind of stinks. But if he was still healthy, I'd say they'd totally be maybe getting a wild card spot because I think he was doing really well while he was healthy. And then I think it'd be really cool to see Broncos do great. I think Broncos could do awesome. As long as Bo Nix is healthy, I think Broncos can do great. They didn't do well last year. QB room was rough. Now that they have Bo Nix, I think that it's going to completely flip it. That's my opinion.
Do you think so the Chiefs have had receiver trouble in the past few years. Drop passes, I think they had the most in the NFL. And there was a clip of Xavier Worthy dropping a pretty easy pass in his first training camp over the summer. This guy's got, a 4.2, 4.4 40. He's the Tyreek Hill kind of speed they're looking for, but will the drop passes be a problem?
I mean, if they had the most last year, like you said, clearly wasn't a problem for them last year. So I think they're stronger than they are last year. I think they'll be just as good. And on the Eagles, they're ranked 11th here on the power rankings right now. I think that's very, very bad. They have, in my opinion, the best offense in the league. You know, they have star running back, Saquon Barkley. They got one of the best receiving rooms in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And even Jalen Hurts has, I think, proved himself to be easily a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think the drop pass is a problem for this year. I mean, it was Kadarius Toney was the wide receiver that was dropping everything, and I think that now that he's there was clips of him taking running back reps in practice.
Oh,
Where he wasn't even doing wide receiver reps, which he probably still was, but doing more running back stuff because. Like, I've seen so many different times when I'm watching Chiefs game, it's a drop pass. Of course, it's Kadarius Toney. And so I think they kind of, like, moved him out, moved in, like, people like Xavier Worthy, which even though, he might have dropped one pass in practice, but you see that from everybody. I think I got to let it, play out in the season once we see it through, like, games. If he's dropping passes then maybe it's a different story. But if he's, if he's making catches in game and he's making good plays, I think they're going to have an even better season than they did last year, and they already had a really good season. So I got high hopes for them.
Let's think playoff predictions. So NFC, AFC championships, Super Bowl. Who do you think will be in those last four and those last two a few months ahead?
For AFC championships, or the AFC championship game, I feel like there's 4 contenders in my eyes right now. I think obviously the Chiefs are one. I actually think the Texans might be another. They've got a great offense. They got great receiving room, even though Stephon Diggs has been on the decline, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a cancer to the team.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like kind of a pain to be around. I feel like he's just bringing the team down, in my opinion. But they good defense, great offense, so they'll be up there. The Ravens, another strong team, easily top 2, maybe 1 defense in the NFL. And with Derrick Henry as a running back, I don't think he'll be washed. I don't think he'll produce as much as he used to, but I definitely he's still like a beast. He had over 1,000 yards last year, so it'll be great. And I'm actually leaving the Browns for the 4th spot. I think they'll be good. They got top 3 defense as well, and their offense. If Deshaun Watson is healthy and playing good, he has a 5-1 record with Cleveland, so it's good numbers. So hopefully, he'll be good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna agree with that. So the problem with Browns is that Nick Chubb was like a big chunk of their offense, and after injury last year, he's just not the same. And their backup's Jerome Ford, and he's not bad, but he's not Nick Chubb. And I think Deshaun Watson is also injury prone, so that could definitely be a problem. So that's why I'm going to disagree with that. But NFC-wise, championship, I think Packers and I think Eagles. I don't think anybody else.
Oof.
I think Packers you don't need a specific crazy wide receiver to do well. You need a lot of good wide receivers, and that's what Packers have. They don't have anybody specific. They don't have a Justin Jefferson, an Amon-Ra, CD. They have 3 solid wide receivers that can all get the job done, but aren't like flashy. And I think Jordan Love also is not overlooked, but he's undervalued. I think come playoff time, he can shine. I think it's going to be really nice. And then, Eagles getting Saquon, already have a stacked O-line, wide receiver room. They just got somebody from the Commanders, too, so they already have 3 good wide receivers. And, Jalen Hurts, I don't think they're going to have a problem. AFC-wise, it's just hard to count Chiefs out. Chiefs are always the Chiefs are opposite of Cowboys, where once they hit playoffs, that's when they really take off. Cowboys are once they hit playoffs, they just drop. I think Chiefs are just totally going to, once they hit playoffs, they'll boom, especially with an even better wide receiver room than they had last year. But for another team, AFC, I think it's totally up for grabs. A lot of teams could have that. But I'm not sure. I think my top contender would probably be Bengals if Joe Burrow's healthy. But if he's not, then, take him out. But
Do you think the Texans have any chance of climbing up with the momentum they built last year around C.J. Stroud?
I think that they'll make playoffs. They might win a game in playoffs, but I don't think they'll go crazy far. I think the problem is that I know you're getting Stephon Diggs and you're getting a wide receiver 1, but he's also he's a cancer to the team, and he's cancer to all his other wide receivers, and that just brings down mood. And we saw he had problems with Josh Allen last year, so bringing him to a new team with a young quarterback who was a rookie last year that already had great wide receiver room, I think that can totally just turn the tides and actually make it worse for them. That's what I think. So I don't know. I think they'll make playoffs, but I don't think they'll go any further than that.
And we're going to do a quick round, a couple questions. Favorite off-season player pickup or trade, and why?
That's a good question. I think my favorite pickup so far would probably...
I can go if you want me to.
You can go, let me think.
I got 2. Derrick Henry to the Ravens and Saquon to the Eagles, just because they're both monster running backs, and although Derrick Henry's on the decline, still Baltimore has got a stacked offense, so adding him is just only making it better. And then, obviously, we talked about it earlier, Eagles are nuts, and so adding a better running back over DeAndre Swift is just even better.
I would agree with that. I think Saquon's probably been my favorite pick. I don't think they were desperate for that running back position. I think DeAndre Swift did a pretty okay job. But now that they have him, against one of the best O-lines in the league, if not the best, I think he'll produce very good numbers.
And on the flip side, who's a player who you think will kind of fall off compared to what they performed last year?
I think someone that would fall off pretty hard would probably be really anyone on that Texans offense, or like the wide receivers. I don't think they'll fall off, but they're not going to have the year they had. It's kind of split out a lot more. Like, it's kind of, I feel like, might be like the Packers. There's not really a star. They're all solid. But I think, like, singular-wise, like each player individually, they might not, like, have a 1,300-yard season again. But they still will have one of the best offenses, in my opinion.
Kind of agree, best offense, but I wouldn't, or not best offense, but I'd say they're good offense. But I wouldn't compare them to Packers, saying they got like similar, like everybody's mid wide receiver room. I mean, I think Nico Collins is the best. I think Stephon Diggs is okay. He's a diva, so he only doesn't get the ball, he cries about it. And I think Tank Dell, as a rookie, he got injured, but still, he had a really good year. And so I think that they'll still do well, but yeah. I think that's what I'd say. But I'd say people that drop off, Puka Nacua. Having Cooper Kupp, when Cooper Kupp's there, I think Puka Nacua doesn't do as well. And now that I'd say Puka's wide receiver 1, people will guard him more, leaving Cooper Kupp open more. And so that's why I think that just stick with, a really good wide receiver that has been good for years, and not just have a running back or a rookie wide receiver that has a boom year. Just take the spotlight. That's what I think.
And who's a player who is going to have a standout season? No one's going to see it coming. They're a sleeper now, but by the end of the season, it'll be kind of like that last year with Nacua, who's like, where did this guy come from?
I don't know if he's a sleeper. I would say Garrett Wilson, though. Garrett Wilson is, I think he's a star in the making. He put up 1,000 yards with Zach Wilson, which is impressive. But now you got Aaron Rodgers coming back. He's healthy. I feel like Aaron Rodgers coming back is kind of like a lot more energy for the team. Like, they have a great defense. But last year they didn't do too well. They didn't have quarterback. But now, Breece Hall, he did insane at the end of the year. I think he'll continue to do that. He's a monster running back. But I think Garrett Wilson will have a great year, and he'll be, solid, numbers game in and game out.
I think not that they're a rookie, so they didn't have a sleeper last year. But I think they're going in. People are already counting them out because I think I'm talking about the Giants and Malik Neighbors, really good wide receiver. The problem is that Daniel Jones and a quarterback is just not who you want when you're going into the NFL because he's just not great. And he was injured last year, so you didn't really get to see him a ton. But I think that he will. I think Malik Neighbors will still find a way to do well this year. On the Giants, because the Giants just had a bust year last year, just did not do great. And so I think that if Malik Neighbors can stay healthy, I think if Daniel Jones can stay healthy, and I think if Giants as a whole, losing Saquon definitely doesn't help, but I think if they as a whole can stay healthy, then I think they'll do way better than they did last year. So, yeah.
All right, that's all we got for NFL. All right, this is our NHL section. So the St. Louis Blues in our hometown, they offered a sheet to the Oilers for 2 players, but it was turned down. Why didn't the Oilers match?
I think they didn't match because they obviously didn't have very many points last year, and I think that they're tied up in a lot of the players like McDavid and their big salaries, and they can't really afford them with the salary cap.
So let's start off. I think we jumped the gun. What a sheet is, I didn't know. I just looked it up 30 seconds ago. But what a sheet is you can offer to players on a one-way contract, 1 year remaining in their deal. You can offer them a better deal, but you send it first to the team that owns their rights, and then that team has the option to match and keep the player or decline, and that player can choose to sign the new contract. The St. Louis Blues offered to 2 Oilers players, Broberg and Holloway. The Oilers declined. That's kind of a little bit of the context. I'll let Briggs or Charlie take it from there.
Coming off of last year, I feel like the Oilers are looking for a new restart, and they really want someone to match up their team. And it seems unlikely that they would let this pass, come that they're both first-round draft picks. But it's not something I wouldn't put past them.
Well, I mean, the Oilers have drafted the next guy. Only once has it worked out with Connor McDavid. All their first-round draft picks end up either out of the league or in jail within a couple of years. So, I mean, I don't know. They were first-round draft picks, but they had 9 points each last year. So I wouldn't be. Yeah, I think that had more to do with the poor draft selection of the Oilers rather than, Oilers development.
Let's talk about Macklin Celebrini. So the Sharks have high hopes. They're kind of in the tank right now, but will this new energy take them to new levels?
I think so. I think they can really build off him because, obviously, as having the first-round draft pick, they had to be pretty far down in the league, and they did not have very many points last year. But I feel like if they have, one really strong player that can, build around that, have a really young team, a lot of young talent, I feel like they could be good this year.
He's completely wrong. The Sharks suck. One player is not going to change that. We saw that with Connor Bedard last year. I mean, Connor Bedard had one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time offensively. And the Blackhawks had the best chance of taking the number 1 pick again. So, I mean, and the Sharks were even worse. I mean, it was hard to watch. They didn't lose a game. They didn't win a game for the first, 2 months or something crazy like that. I mean, that's like if you put Clayton in the Challenge Cup. It's just not going to happen. I don't care if you give him, you could honestly put Connor McDavid on Clayton's hockey team, and they would not beat a top team in St. Louis because one guy doesn't change it. It takes years, and it takes multiple players. And I think Macklin Celebrini, great player. I mean, he played in NCAA as a 17-year-old. That is insane. But one player's not going to change anything in the National Hockey League. I think the Sharks should have focused more on their overall development instead of going all in on one player.
Hopefully he just brings some intensity. I mean, it's coming up quick. It feels like last year he was already just our age, and now he's going to the NHL, so he's going to have to compete with the big dogs now. And the Sharks, I mean, everyone knows last season, Brian Cooke just mentioned, they were horrible. We, beat them every game, 7-1, but hopefully it just builds something there.
And the Hughes brothers are also now on the cover of NHL 25. That's a nice change of pace for the game. Do you think that'll bring a lot of purchases to the game, some buzz? What do you think?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was probably $120 for one game. But, yeah, I mean, Shell has always been a fun game. I've always played it. It's something I like in my childhood. Shell 14, I've always played it. So seeing these young people on the cover is pretty cool. They're not that older than us. It's kind of crazy to see. And having all the brothers on the cover and being in the game, I mean, there's nothing that can beat that.
Well, I think just having those 3 brothers on the cover of NHL is kind of explains a lot about the way hockey is going, and it's going to the young guys like Connor Bedard, 19, 18, 20 years old. the way professional sports have developed recently is it's all about the new guy who's good right now. Like the Hughes brothers, they are really, really good. But they've been playing in the NHL like 2 or 3 years each. Like, that's definitely not enough. Like you said, NHL 14. The cover of that was Martin Brodeur. Martin Brodeur has won more games than any other goalie by like 200 games, which is like 5 incredible seasons more than everyone else. And what Martin Brodeur was, he was an established veteran, best goalie in the league. He was on the cover. Now it's all Trevor Zegras, the Hughes brothers, all the young guys. And I think, great. I'd love to see those 3 all win a Stanley Cup. But I don't think just because you're on the cover of NHL, I don't think it means anything. Hopefully it brings. I love that they're young players, but you got to recognize, like, they're 4 or 5 years older than us, so they got a lot of time to prove themselves. And I don't think just because you're on the cover of NHL at 20, it means anything.
Yeah, I do feel like it would be cool to see another vet on the cover instead of all these young guns.
Speaking of that, who?
We've already seen Crosby on it. Haven't seen a goalie on there since Vasilevsky, so maybe a goalie, somebody like, I don't know.
Wait,
Good
when was
question.
Vasilevsky?
Maybe Ovechkin again. That'd be.
Well, I don't know. He did not have a great season last year. He's about.
I feel like if he ever hit if he
if
got closer to
he passes
Gretzky,
the-
then that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, but I think maybe a guy who has reestablished himself. Maybe last year, someone who will do it this year. It would be nice to see them on the cover.
All right, that's all for NHL.
Welcome to the golf section of this week's episode of Mock SportsCenter. To start off, kind of briefly, I'm sure everyone knows Scotty Scheffler taking home the gold in the Olympics after John Rahm's disastrous choke on the back nine. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I mean, he, like Cookie said, he just choked it. Hit some bad shots out there and lost himself the chance at a medal for Spain.
Yeah, I think that all that Scotty's done in the past couple of months, I know, like getting arrested, all this going on, and then he goes to win the Olympics. I think it showed his character and how he can keep fighting and battling through. And I think, it was cool that he was able to win the Olympics.
And after Xander won the Open, it looked like he was going to be kind of the guy that took the golf world by storm this year. But knowing Scotty Scheffler with 6 PGA Tour wins, including the Masters, as well as taking home the Olympic gold, who do we give the nod to now?
I still think that Scotty has it. What he's done this season really hasn't been done besides like Tiger, so he definitely has Xander this season.
I would have to agree. I think that Scotty has it. However, I do think that Xander, it was good for him to get some major championships this season. I think that he deserved it, and he was working really hard, and I'm glad to see him doing well this year.
All right, again on Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler, just before the FedEx Cup playoff start, had some criticism of the format. I'll explain it to you briefly and then what he said. The top 70 players in the world, after the PGA Tour season is complete, advance to the FedEx Cup playoffs. The FedEx Cup playoffs consist of 3 events: St. Jude's, BMW, and then finally the Tour Championship. The top 70 advance to St. Jude's, and then the top 50 in that tournament then advance to the BMW Championship, which is going on right now. And after the BMW, the top 30 will advance to the Tour Championship. Now, the way the Tour Championship is set up is based on your position in the World Golf Rankings. You were given a certain number of strokes. And Scotty Scheffler, who is world number 1, I believe will start at 10 under par on the first week of Thursday of the Tour Championship. And even though he will be getting the big advantage, he had some criticism. He believed that the season-long race for the FedEx Cup, as it's called, was kind of a joke because He said, and I quote, "How can it be the season-long race to the FedEx Cup if it comes down to one tournament?" What are our thoughts on the format and Scotty Scheffler's criticism?
Well, I know, obviously, there's one end-all, be-all, the last tournament, the Tour Championship. However, you could say it's more than really just one tournament. You have the BMW, the St. Jude. Like, you have 3 events where you have to perform well in. And I just think that one tournament is a little bit of a stretch for calling it one tournament. But I don't know. I think that there could be more of a long-term standings, have more at play in it.
Yeah, but the guy in the guy could get last in the BMW and the FedEx St. Jude and then go on to win the Tour Championship, and he just win it all. Like, and Scotty could get last place in that, and what he's done this whole season kind of just went away almost.
I mean, I agree, but I also think, like, you have to win. Like, you can't just be given something because you were the best up until the end. Like, even for NBA, you have to win the playoffs. You have to go and perform and win when it is important, not just throughout the year, I would say.
So you guys are suggesting that instead of it coming down to one tournament, you find a way to kind of maybe lengthen the playoffs, so it's less how you play for a 2-week period. So it's more closer to traditional NBA, NHL, NFL bracket series. But at the end of the day, if you want to win the FedEx Cup, you have to win the final tournament. Is that what you guys are saying?
That's basically what we're... Yeah, I would agree with that because I think, leading up to it, if you do well, I think you should receive some reward or some advantage going in. But I think at the end of the day, whoever wins, the final tournament should take home the championship.
All right. Thank you for listening. This is the conclusion of the golf segment.